third seed. Bengals playing the Ravens again in Cincy. Here's Joe Burrow on the championship window.
Window's my whole career, and everybody that we have in that locker room, all the coaches we have, things are going to change year to year, but our window's always open.
Super Bowl champion Greg Jennings joins us, also in a turtleneck.
Yeah, you noticed that. I'm glad you know.
Sorry,
I knew I could count on Wilds.
Sorry, Wilds. I know I shouldn't do this
here we
while we're
go.
on the air. No. I just have to make this trade real quick.
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm selling my Bengal stock.
Wow.
Sorry, that was the chime to let it know it went through. Yeah. That's,
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't like that?
Don't like anything about them the last 24 hours. It started with the coin. I didn't like that.
The coin. You were like, we should put the coin.
Did you see it?
Show.
You saw it? I didn't like it.
Celebration?
Yeah, I didn't like it. I feel like eyes off the ball, fellas. And also, I thought it was in a little bit of poor taste. Nobody loved the setup. It wasn't perfect. He brought the coin with him, put it in his glove. Didn't love that. You take care of business, and the coin flip game was never going to happen, and they did, and it won't now. And you guys know how much respect I have for Burrow, how much I've liked Burrow. I think he's a little wrong here. Yes, of course, they will always be good as long as he's there. But this is a unique opportunity for them. He is cheap. Jamar Chase is cheap. T. Higgins is cheap. It is on the board that the most talent they will ever have all together on the rosters right now. Certainly, and feels like flying a little too close to the sun for a team that in their first playoff game is playing a team that Joe has struggled against this year. Joe against the Ravens this year has thrown for 216 yards per game, has an 81 rating in the 2 games, has 2 touchdowns and 2 turnovers. And I didn't think the Bengals were overly impressive yesterday against Anthony Brown and company, even though the Ravens had 4 turnovers. So I don't like it. I think it bodes poorly for them.
Okay, a coin celebration is taking your eye off the prize, but a spinning huddle isn't?
No.
What
The coin, to me, the coin was talking about. It was talking about the playoff format thing is what they were upset about. That's why I'm saying.
Home field advantage.
Okay.
Yeah,
decided by it.
I had no problem. He's right. Joe Burrow is right. He is the type of quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, obviously in the older guys,
Trevor
Tom
Lawrence.
Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Every year you're in the league, you're in your prime, you feel like you've got a shot. Nick, need I remind you, he went to a team that hadn't made the playoffs in 5 years. He went to a team that was so bad, a franchise that was so bad that people actually were saying he shouldn't go there.
Yep.
And he had them in the Super Bowl in his first full season.
He's been great.
So I have absolutely, Greg, no problem whatsoever with Joe Cool saying his windows his entire career.
Look, I don't know if there could have been a better response.
Thank you.
I mean, you see me in the turtleneck. I will take this turtleneck off and be your 4th receiver right now. Look, you got me ready. Are you kidding me right now? To have that type of response and to back it up, he backs it up. Like none of us at this desk, including the Patrick Mahomes fan that you are, believer that you are, can say that he doesn't back it up.
I think he's a great player. You guys know I think he's the second best quarterback in football. I'm simply saying I think they might be just a bit. No. Not I hope.
You hope.
I think you guys are going to, if the Bills play the Bengals, you guys are going to just be in the blender on which team Nick is most afraid of, who's he rooting for. Because I know you guys think I'm actually afraid of the Bills, so I'll be rooting for the Bengals. But no, I'm just reading it as I see it. I think the Bengals, they've won 8 in a row. I think the last 3 weeks they haven't played that well. I think against the Bucks, they were awful in that first half, and then the Bucks imploded. Yeah. That happened. Against the Patriots, they were awful in the second half and tried to give the game away. And if anybody watched yesterday's game against Baltimore and thought they were impressive in that game against Anthony Brown.
There's not a team in the league we can say they've been great the last
I agree.
Look at their playoff run last year. They weren't great in any of those all the way through.
Correct.
Like the game against the
against the Raiders, the Titans, and the Chiefs, they just had moments at the end.
All those games, but they found a way because of that guy.
No, I think he's great. I think that they are. I don't know. I've been scared of them all year. I'm a little less scared this
If I'm not here foreseeable future. It's because I'm
Playing for the Bengals?
I'm going to get a tryout.
I don't know what to root for. Okay, I like you on the show, but I wouldn't mind you getting a ring too. Other news out of Arizona. Another ring, of course. Cliff is gone. Cardinals, which some smart football people had going to the Super Bowl. Turns out the Super Bowl is just in Arizona, so halfway right. Finished 4-13. 10 months ago, Cliff signed an extension through 2027, and now he's out alongside the GM. Nick?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of I was right a long time ago. This one you were right. You called this 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously, listen, he was in over his head the moment he got there. He wasn't a good college coach. He wasn't a good pro coach. Since they were started 10-2, he's 5-18. And the QB doesn't seem to like him. Now, I don't know who the QB does like, and I don't know who likes the QB. What I do know is this: that's not an attractive job. Not historically great ownership. The Kyler contract, I think people are questioning, and he's injured. I think that's going to be, they have to rebuild the entire defense. I think that is going to be one of the least attractive jobs out there. And listen, of course you fire Cliff Kingsbury. You don't hire Cliff Kingsbury unless you plan to fire Cliff Kingsbury. But, I mean, he did a poor job, and that is now a non-attractive job.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I was reading something about that the Cardinals in their history over 100 years, they haven't had a coach.
More than 6 years ever.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
That is unreal. But Cliff Kingsbury, I'm sorry that you're gone, but hopefully you go do better, bigger and better things somewhere else.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, this is great. Do you want him to come with you to the Bengals or something?
I mean, hey, I wish him the best.
Greg's just being a nice guy.
Be kind. Be kind sign right
I
there.
know, but it's quickly, Greg. DeAndre Hopkins, maybe you say I don't want to be here either. Do you want?
Last year's season end. With it, and it didn't get picked. But him trying to take a deep shot.
Right. So Aaron Rodgers
It's another home playoff loss.
Third straight year.
What do you mean?
Third straight year they lost to a team in Lambeau
That they
with
were the
everything
favorites,
on the line.
correct. And let's talk about that because this is an abject disaster. It's the worst case for all Packer fans, particularly the ones that said I was wrong about playing Jordan Love. How's that take look this morning or this afternoon? But we can get to that in a moment because I already know Kevin Wildes, the only thing he wants to talk about is what's next for the Packers. And you know what would be good if the Packers knew what the other quarterback looked like. But we'll wait to get to that before we get to this. This is the third straight year. They are favorites. They are in their building. They are in a winnable game. And in the fourth quarter, Rodgers is terrible. And each year, it has come earlier in the calendar. Conference championship weekend, divisional round weekend, and now week 18. This is his fourth quarters. And believe it or not, and by the way, I totally stole this from the Herd. That makes Herd thefts 807 their way and 1 my way. So I got 806 more than I can do. This was Colin's graphic, though. In the fourth quarter of that NFC championship game against Tampa, Brew, here's what they did. 3 and out, and then the fateful field goal when he didn't run the ball and they didn't trust him to go for it. Against San Francisco, the fourth quarter starts with them 1st and goal from the 7. They settle for a field goal. 3 and out, and they lose. Yesterday's game, the fourth quarter starts with them going 5 and out, and there's a little asterisk there. Not an asterisk, but he threw a pick on that drive. It just didn't count.
Yes.
And he got very lucky because the penalty had nothing to do with him throwing the pick. And it was the exact same guy, exact same type of play. And then I guess that was right before the fourth quarter, I should say. They ended up going 5 and out on this drive that ended in the fourth quarter. And then a 6-play drive that ends in the pick. It's just a disaster.
Dude wasn't even close to being open.
No, that is the type of throw you see from an inexperienced quarterback.
Yes.
And for him to, when LaFleur's first year there, Wildes, they made it to the conference championship game, and they got crushed by San Francisco. And he said, it'd be nice if we could have one of these games in Lambeau. Yeah. And then they did the next year, and they lost to Brady. Okay, it happened. It's Brady. Then they did the next year, and they lost to Jimmy Garoppolo. Not great. No, I mean, not great. And now this year, they're at home against Jared Goff and the Lions. And the last point here, that is the worst defense in the league.
Yes.
Detroit.
Yes.
Detroit's the reason Detroit is 9-8 and not 11-6 or better is purely because of their defense.
Yes.
Their offense is fantastic. So the Packers defense actually did its job relatively. That's a disaster for Aaron Rodgers.
You will like this comparison, I think. Now, Rodgers does have the 1 ring. You can't take it from him. He's a made man. But he reminds me of James Harden. Tremendous regular season. We've seen the failures. Now, I'm not saying he hasn't had good games here and there, and so is Harden in the playoffs. But
I would say
lately, last decade, how about
the basketball comp I would have used was Wilt. But the unbelievable regular season stats didn't win as much and seemed to have some leadership issues. But there is certainly not Mahomes. He's certainly not Brady. He's certainly not these guys he's been compared to.
All right, spinning it forward to the future, Aaron Rodgers going to provide us with months of content. Will he retire? Will he not?
He's not
I don't know. Take a listen.
It's a feeling